Thank you so much, Anna. Let's see. Thank you, Anna. So many investors have understood the importance of investing in many different fields. But how should you evaluate the different companies? At what stage of a startup is it good to invest? And does it change if we're talking about e-commerce, SaaS, biotech, or health companies? In this first day's panel, we will explore how to invest in different fields. And I'm super excited to present this panel's moderator. Peggy is the founder of Time to Raise, a program to empower women with full focus on fundraising. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Peggy in Stockholm when she still worked as the Nordics lead at Microsoft for startups. And since then, her little side project, Time to Raise, has been fully funded, and she's now working on it full time. So if you want to invest in female-founded startups, make sure to talk to Peggy during the breakout sessions. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to the first moderator of the day, Peggy Poon.
Thank you, thank you. Hello, hello. Does this work? Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Aisha did a great presentation about myself, so no need for me to repeat. But today we are going to talk about exploring different fields in investment. And with me, I have Claes. A round of applause to Claes.
Yep.
And we have Sïmon.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me well? I feel like I don't hear myself well. And then we have Mattias. And then we were supposed to also have Kerstin Jakobsson, but she had some personal problems and couldn't attend today. But we have some great panelists here, and would you like to introduce yourself to begin with?
Should we start with the ladies first? Yeah, so myself. Because Kerstin, I thought it was like, it should be only men in the panel, so that's why. No, too early for jokes? Sorry about that, I just came from the airport straight away. Okay guys, hi, good morning. My name is Sïmon Saneback, all the way from Stockholm. That's why I'm so arrogant, by the way. So yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for the past, what is it now, 19, 20 years? Been working a lot with IT, e-commerce, startups. Yeah, that's the humble version. Claes.
Perfect, thank you, Fernando. Yeah, my name is Claes Mikko. I came all the way from Helsinki, but most important things first. So I'm Finnish Norwegian. So mentally, the average me, I feel very, very Swedish there in between. So yes, and there's always something about Stockholm. So I guess I'm more to the Skåne part. So very happy to be here. But yeah, so representing Nordic Ninja, and we're happy to share some of the views and activities we've done with our investment fund based here in the Nordic and Baltics. Thank you.
Mattias Tyrberg. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Just recently, I've been focusing on crypto for the past 3 years, and with my company meme.com that we'll get more into later. But I'm most likely the most crypto person here in the room, but I'm happy to meet other people who are more.
Thank you so much. And then a repetition about myself. I run the project called Time to Raise. And this is a bridge between women-led startups and investors. So if we have any investors here who are looking to diversify their fields, reach out to me and let's talk after the panel. But my first question to you all, since Sïmon, you are focused on e-commerce and SaaS, Claes Mikko, you are an expert in deep tech, and Mattias, you're our crypto guy. What makes your field different when thinking about investing compared to investing in other fields? Starting with Sïmon.
To be frank, I think I have the easiest life because you can get sort of like a return on your investment much faster building an app rather than building sort of like complex deep tech companies. Or maybe we had also, we talked a little bit with Kerstin when we had the call, and she invests a lot in healthcare and medcare companies, and you need to wait probably double, triple the time compared to SaaS. But yeah, that's from my point of view at least.
Claes, is it different?
Yeah. So we go with the Nordic Ninja. Just to open up a little bit of the background, we never done our proper Swedish launch. So this is one of those first ones. So COVID did some hindering there. We're relatively new, so we're 100 million euro fund. And the speciality is that we have a Japanese background, so we're backed by Panasonic, Honda, Omron, and the governmental investment bank JBIC in Japan. But what makes us special is that we're fully independent. We have this kind of a global mandate of doing investments with a deep tech focus. What does that mean? So we industry agnostic, so we look at everything. We notice that our team expertise, so we have some limitations to what comes to gaming and life science, which Kerstin would have covered, but so it's more about our expertise as a team of 7 people based here in Helsinki, Stockholm, and Tallinn. But so deep tech, it's more about the possibility. Those in the industry, we know deep tech, it is more about, it's much longer. It's the most longest period of time of you need tolerance, and then you need special kind of investors with that kind of tolerance. And so deep tech is typically associated with business angels who are there for the interest, the fun of the game. There are family offices who are dedicated, have experts, and then these kind of venture funds who have the tolerance for a longer time of return expectation. So, for example, we've done so far since 2019, we've done 15 investments. So deep tech of those is about 5 companies, is hardcore deep tech from health tech. And one of our investment is Einride. So maybe you heard of this small truck company in somewhere a bit more south from here, but super exciting. And the moment we saw the company, it was like, wow, this is amazing. This is going to take all of our money and we're going to go totally bankrupt, or it's going to be a big all-in return. And it's that kind of a mental, psychological element. You need that kind of a long-term perspective, dedication, and trust. And so it's hard to describe what makes a deep tech category more like different. So like for the audience, it's a possibility, long-term investments, and our dedication that we will enrich the team with all the expertise and networks globally to support that kind of a long-term investment. Maybe now it's time to take the most short-time investment, which is then again related to crypto.
Yeah. So in crypto, it maybe like from an industry perspective, anything could be in crypto. So it's maybe more how you invest that differs a lot. So of course, there are what I could get back to saying hybrid companies, but if we go like the pure crypto route, it's more about people investing in coins and investing in projects that are giving out coins. So it's more thinking about how you invest in a company that will go into a public offering right around the corner, but with a really early stage company. So it's a very high risk, but the upside could be enormous. The other thing is also regarding control. So when you invest in a company, you could take a board seat, you could take different rights in the contracts you're writing. But when we raised money now this spring, I raised money from people who didn't know my name because we only met online with a chat handle. So that's how it works. It works in a super high speed, and you invest in the coin only, meaning that you have no board seats, you have only the right to have this stock or coin. So that's much higher risk, but a higher reward kind of thing. But there are also hybrid companies. So you could invest in a Swedish aktiebolag or other companies that are about to build a crypto company. It could be a deep tech company, it could be anything else. But that is then most likely, if it becomes crypto, the value of that company is the coins you're getting from it. Because people who are in crypto, they don't see the value in stocks. They think that stocks are the old world and the new world is decentralization, meaning that no one controls anything. It's the group of people controlling it. So it's but yeah, sure, it could be a SaaS company, it could be anything, but it's way different when you invest.
And when you look into investing within your fields, how do you evaluate what to invest in? starting with Mikko, going back to deep tech.
Yes, so and as highlighted, like deep tech, it's a possibility. Many limit themselves because they need faster returns. So deep tech, it's a possibility. But for us, so those 15 investments we've done, so we have health tech, mobility, we have even blockchain-based investments there, and so the 4 investments we have in Sweden. So maybe we take those as examples. So voice scooters, Mavenoid, Einride, and the latest is Climate View. So what we looked at those cases when the opportunity came. First of all, they were more or less introductions. People we knew, somebody we trust, references in the sense, as we're newcomers, so we needed that kind of a somebody. We didn't have the access to all of you great entrepreneurs right away. So an introduction there first. So getting the amount of trust to the right size. Then, of course, the correlation for a company of ours who invest in the Series A, we typically invest €500,000 up to 5-6 million euros. That's our scale of mandate of our ticket size. So this kind of Nordic Series A, so that requires that there's some kind of attraction, there's some possibility that we can say that now the startup phase is about 2 categories. It's the PMF, product market fit. Do we find it? And then poof, you find it. Then it's all about how do we fit the scaling? Do we fit the scaling? So these categories, PMF for scaling. So of course the investors, our Series A is just the sweet spot there. You actually just found it and poof, it's time to scale. So that is our it's a guesstimate more or less. Do we feel that this team is able to carry out? Do they have what it takes to potentially tolerance to build up that scaling? So that is more or less our evaluation. And it is a game of more or less mental element as well. Like you cannot trust the numbers. The correlation between for angels, many of the angels in the room, it's the correlation between the team and the scalability. How do these 2 components come together? Well, the later you go in the investment stage, the more boring it gets. And the team and the scaling turns from financials and scaling. So we're somewhere there between. We expect that the team is there. We expect that there's more or less like the product service is ready. But then the boring part is that we need to understand the financials and can we actually, does the money that we pump in actually create value in multiplication of that growth? Mm-hmm. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and a little sense check here in the audience. Who knows the difference between tech and deep tech? Can you raise your hands? Yay, 1, 2, a couple. Claes Mikko, can you clarify to the audience what is deep tech?
Yes, so deep tech more or less. So we have so tech itself. It's typically something you can scale right away, and more or less it's ready there. For deep, it's more about the future promise. So we have. Typically, it's university innovations. It is more or less in the Nordics. Typically, it's publicly backed. It is by no way. So one of our deep tech examples, in addition to Einride, is Varjo. A VR headset gives the world's best quality of VR experience. To most of us who use VR, it gives a headache, but this is actually eye fit resolution, so that's comfortable for you. But the promise when we did the investment, it was still on a lot of the promise. There are some customers testing it out. So the time scale from SaaS, from half a year to a year more or less, we talk about 3 to 5 years, and we're not even sure if it's going to work out. With Einride, let's see, it's a decade journey, and then hopefully. And the most famous, of course, as we have a Japanese spice in our fund, Japan is not so strongly associated with startup investment. Japan is correlated with SoftBank, so it's more or less, and they think about a 30-year time zone. It's much longer. So deep tech, it's more or less you need those more innovation, and what we typically study is the patents. Have you been able to protect it? Difference, for example, Sweden with the other Nordic countries is that the researchers in the universities, you own the patents yourself. Finnish university, it's the university itself. So the structure is much different. So we have a super, I would say, if more and more entrepreneurial hungry researchers here in Sweden especially, and I'm sure that's the thing what's happening, we're going to see even more deep tech companies coming arise. And that's why we work quite a lot with the universities. I know all the accelerators have a lot of cooperation with the universities and the innovation hubs here just to support that long time growth need. And for that kind of investment, so yeah, I would define it as a long period investment.
So you might invest something that does not exist yet, and the return might be higher if it's a technology that works in the end.
The not exist part, that's typically the university, the public, and the angels. We have the luxury in the Nordics of investing that there's something tested, there's something you can touch and feel, typically. And the promise is already like, can we make it sellable in a sense? Does somebody want to pay for it? So we have a product, so our job is to make that innovation more or less commercially ready, and then scale that potentiality.
And is it difference when looking into SaaS and e-commerce startups? How is it different from looking into deep tech startups?
So as I've mentioned before, we've established I'm the lazy one. So these guys are working with very complex things. No, it's still very early for the jokes. I'm sorry about that. If someone can give me some water or coffee, because I actually ran from the taxi. So yeah, answering your question now, Peggy. I think the main difference is actually, if you look at software as a service, there is a component in which like you don't focus as much maybe on patents or sort of what proprietary technology you're building. Sometimes it's actually a matter of time to market. How fast can you run something, and how quickly can you acquire some customers and show a trajectory of growth. The thing with recurring revenue is that if you have a way you can show revenue in your SaaS business, it's quite simple or it's quite easy for you to raise a lot of money. And there is a sort of like a certain path that you can be on compared to sort of the deep tech companies or life science, or I would say crypto is it's a different animal. So let's take it in a second with Mattias. And with NFTs and all that is going on around there. So in terms of e-commerce, I mean, if you look back like a decade ago, everyone has been focusing on the top line. It's just bring me as much growth as possible. And we've seen sort of in the last couple of years, you see, I needed the water. In the last couple of years, it's been said like you can give a monkey a bag of money and they can give you a certain growth. And now there is a focus on profit, right? So how many people are working with e-commerce here? Raise your hands. Wow, that's a lot of people. Okay, great. And so you see, so e-commerce in that sense, I'm going to walk around now just to make it more interactive. So e-commerce in that sense has been changing as an industry where it is not enough to actually just generate growth. You need to also show a very clear path to profitability or covering your losses. And the consumer behavior has been changing dramatically in the last couple of years. And with COVID, it has been even faster, and it's quite tough for these businesses to cope with everything that is happening. Last mile delivery, free deliveries, automation, etc., etc. So the winners are those who are innovative, but also who have a very clear path to profitability, I would say.
And Mattias, how is it different in the crypto world?
Yeah, I would say most of the projects when you invest, when I say project, it's normally a crypto company is named as a project. So most crypto projects are very early stage. So you're probably not looking at any numbers showing that they have done something. It's more looking at the team, looking at what are the marketing capacity of the team, what are the number of followers in social media, which are the advisors. Advisors are very important in crypto. So you are trying to get other people who have been advisors for successful companies or projects. And then if you find a mix where you feel like this could be FOMO, so fear of missing out, from the community, then it's how you invest. But the way of investing is very different because it's friend of a friend. So kind of if I invest, I then choose 5 friends and say that, hey, you should invest in this as well. And then those who invest there will ask 5 other friends. So you're not going out to reach out to people. You're trying to find these 5 advisors that have these connections, so you will never need to reach out to anyone else. So it's very early stage with not much numbers. So I was not part of the IT boom, but I guess it's a bit similar to how you value-added company. It's not, there are no real numbers. At some point, crypto will go more into what people are used to, but right now it's hard to evaluate.
So you're saying, Mattias, that the crypto world is quite small and people know each other, and when you invest in a crypto startup or in crypto companies, most of the time you know the founders.
No, you know the person who invested. It could be a chain of 10 people from you. But the thing is, looking at it's trust. I know that a lot of people feels like this is crazy and stuff like that. I see people nodding. So, but the thing is, it's people who are, and it's hard for us maybe in the Nordics to get this, but people who are not happy around how the government does things. They are not trusting the currency. We're seeing the inflation getting up. So you have people who doesn't trust the society. They want to build something different. So trust is very important. Of course, there are scams, but you have also track records. So you are looking at track records. People are not advisors for different things that are not knowing the founder. So as an investor, I might not know the founder, but I might know the advisor or another investor who know the founder. So there are links, but the trust is much higher. You don't do due diligence in the same way. So sure, there are much higher risk, but the rewards are much higher as well. So 100x is much more likely in a crypto, I would guess.
Maybe if it's okay, because like with Mattias, we jump quite to the deep end and just open up from, because maybe just like the two driving forces, like we all united in the sense of it's data and AI partly. That's the main driving forces of change what comes to tech world. But the future is very much on the whole crypto element. That though we as a fund, we're restricted. We cannot invest in cryptocurrencies and that. So that's a different unit. But we invested in the field of blockchain and dApps and NFT, that area. So how like my bubble was just hit by the term Web3. So just like if just a quick explanation. So we for not being a crypto expert myself. So describe. So Web 1, the description and category. So internet, so you could read websites. That Web 1. Then we went to the Web 2, which is you can read and write. So the Facebook, the social media, that's Web 2. So and we're more or less the generation of Web 2 in that sense. But the Web 3, which I consider is my 10-year-old son. So he lives in the virtual world, and more or less for him the Fortnite and that element, it is such a big part. And the latest term to describe that is the meta and the metaverse. And for example, our VR headset Vario, they also entered the metaverse. And what that metaverse will mean, so the transaction between the real world and the digital part. So when we have the first working glasses that will combine it in the nice way, the real world and the digital world, that is metaverse in the sense. And a hugely important future, and which will import the whole investment unit. In 10 years, traditional VC funds as us, let's see if it's going to work in the sense, because we already have the Anderson Horowitz and these with the crypto funds and investing on that size. And it seems like speculation in the sense, but it is a huge game changer that you can actually see all the transactions, the whole traditional bank sector, whenever they sniff around, like the whole fintech was like the old banks, they're going to be dead. Well, they adapted and now they're part of the fintech movement. Well, they're going to be slow on the crypto part as well, but they're going to adapt at some point. But the future is more or less like how this kind of a Web3, which is not just reading internet and writing internet, but also like owning internet. So you get ownership of the digital part. And for those who this kind of experiences, whatever influences you on internet, you can own that, and you have more or less, it sounds surreal, but if you can prove that you own that kind of a experience in the sense, that is a game changer. And that is for the new generation coming up. So yeah, any new innovation, you're going to feel first like that's crazy. Then you're going to adapt to it, and poof, it's a starting of the normal. So yeah, there's something huge. We know that we need, as a fund, we need to restructure ourselves. We expect the other funds will need to do the same as well. But now, just going deeply into the crypto and the currencies, and it seems like a pyramid scam in the sense, but it is something very, very exciting. So the whole freaking my bubble is going crazy about trying to understand what is the possibilities.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for freaking some out. I'm just trying to get you guys to the far end of what actually is happening. It's billions and billions of dollars spent right now on these kind of things, and get your heads to, like, there is things, but there is also scale. So it could be just looking at the technology, like any company could use blockchain technology for good stuff, and you don't need to go into building a coin and stuff like that. But still, I think that to understand how strange it is. So I haven't even got into the most strange things. So, but I think we leave that. But it's a very strange world where you you see things in a different way, and you need to have trust in different things to be able to get really deep into it.
And to contrast a little bit, going into SaaS.
I've never been this kind of reality check kind of guy. I like this. Thank you.
But for you, Sïmon, can you see any trends in SaaS, or what is your philosophy when investing?
No, I mean, we're talking a lot about trends and what is happening, and of course I'm following those conversations and what is happening in the world. I think if you look at e-commerce and software as a service, of course there is a lot of up and coming companies that are touching upon these things. If you look at more on the investment side of things, we haven't invested in VR and any of those things that we don't believe will become mainstream or become, enter the mass market within 3 to 5 years. So we're much more closer to whatever niches that are out there that would help, people here and now, or maybe on what we would believe is the near future. Having said that, we're seeing that many of those things, many of those realities, like we've said, we're not going to do blockchain or crypto, or we're not going to do any VR, etc. But you can see that the new generation is actually living in the metaverse already. I mean, when I grew up, there was something called Second Life. Everyone is smiling. So that for me is sort of like, having a virtual character somewhere and pretending to live a certain life. For the new generation, for these kids, they're living that reality already. They're throughout the pandemic, they have been living in the Fortnite world, and they have been, living in those virtual realms. And I think it's naive to not believe that this is where we're heading, and this is going to be, we should be accustomed to this. So yeah, talking about, going back to your question then, there is a lot of new things. If you look at e-commerce and SaaS, many of the things that I've been involved with recently is sort of trying to sort of decrease the gap between online and offline, for example, within retail. And you've seen, for example, innovative things like live shopping, video shopping, etc., which is inspired a little bit more from the Chinese market, which has been it just like timed the market perfectly because there was a pandemic around the corner. So someone was like developing this like a year before and just launched it like right before the pandemic. And it's becoming sort of like a niche within the niche. So if you look at e-commerce traditionally, it's been static more or less. It's like a picture, a buy button. And I believe that much more is now moving towards video. I believe that there is more and more tendencies for interactivity in general. So I think we will see more and more of that, and it goes a little bit hand in hand to what these gentlemen are saying as well. I see it more from sort of like the retail side because that's the low-hanging fruit in my business. But I think the gap between online and offline in general, in everything, will decrease in the next couple of years. And I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it will be a hygiene level.
Yeah, so we're moving more and more digital, and we are asking for interaction even when we purchase items. How about in deep tech? Can you see any trends there?
I think the biggest uniting element is the term sustainability. So any investment we notice because though we don't have this kind of a clear green or impact fund, but we see these coming up. Believe it or not, but the hardcore capitalistic side, they want to do good for the world as well. My naive bubble of VCs, especially in the Nordics, they all want to do investments that make the world a better place. That's our one line for Nordic Ninja as well. We want to invest in the future we want to live in. So sustainability. It's been interesting, quite the change in our launch in 2019. And now all the investment cases that we look at, and our portfolio company, we push for that kind of a sustainability element. So one of our investment companies is Mass Global, Mobility as a Service platform, giving all transportation in one app available in a few cities around the world. And there as well, the push is now not so much about the design or the functionality, but it's like what is the sustainable elements? You're hungry for the demand to know and fulfilling the need. So that's been our contribution for all the accelerators and incubators that consider the sustainable element, because that has a huge ticket for the investors at the moment and fulfilling that kind of a need. And the world is on fire, so of course, for me, this is like the new hippie movement. You get like the startups of today. They actually, instead of boycotting these kind of global capitalistic companies, you actually build something better. And the industry we're representing has a huge possibility to bring that kind of a better solutions. And one example, a case we looked at was the Swedish economy. So you do the credit card purchases and you see all the mission elements related to it. So that kind of information, so it hurts with the data and the pain, but boy, does it make you move. And at least from my bubble, sustainability is now the driving force. So I haven't seen any, how should I say it, destroying the world investment done in the last year at all. So if that's something that's a common element, and of course there's so many things that don't work still. So the capital is there. What triggers that element to channel to you to actually have that resources and grow with those? So it's relatively simple in the end. So you get the investments, there's capital available. The accelerators here will help you getting those tools and pitches right. But yeah, maybe that as the most common. Please include that somehow. These kind of automatic golf ball collector robots, it's beautiful, but still it hurts my soul that we still build those.
Yes. So sustainability is becoming more and more core when looking into investment. Is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, there is an EU directive that force all investors to. I would go on Claes's website, there would be next to the cookie policy and the privacy policy, there will be probably a sustainability button that talks about you as an investor, what is your ESG policy, as an example. So there is a lot of different pushes from top to do this. Still, I'm not very sure whether investors, they talk a lot about sustainability, but I'm not sure whether they do that because it's expected from their LPs or whether it's some kind of greenwashing. So I think time will tell who is really on the right side of this. But it sounds a little bit ironic in a way that capitalistic people are now shifting their focus completely and trying to label their investments as green investments and trying to find more sustainable angles to everything. I think in general it's a great move, and I agree. This is what I'm seeing as well, and I think Mattias knows this from Elon Musk's old tweets in the middle of the night, where he's all in, and then he goes back and waiting for the energy consumption of Bitcoin and whatnot. So I think that's the reality, I would say.
Yeah, and we will talk about sustainability on our next panel as well. So we'll not focus too much there.
I have one, like a bit of a difference here is that in crypto, I would say, even though it could be greenwashing in generic term, I would say that it's good to hear that the focus has shifted towards more green investing, because in crypto, I would say that it's not. It's really hard to find someone or some projects that are really doing something right now. It's too early in the phases, and I know that there are investors seeking for this green investment, but it's really greenwashing when you look at crypto regarding why they are doing something good or greater for the environment. There might be companies who are doing blockchain related things that are good for the environment, I think that, but pure crypto companies, there are very few that are helping the environment. I do think that...
Could you give an example, by the way? That would be super interesting. Crypto and this kind of a green element.
No, I can't.
Okay,
that's the thing.
Okay, you mentioned a few examples.
Because that's, I'm in a few different groups, and it was a discussion. Can you name any company that are doing something good? Because there are companies saying that they are doing good with green emissions and stuff like that. So you do that on the blockchain and stuff like that. But are they actually adding some value that doesn't exist before blockchain? Probably not. And that's like kind of like you do need to see something that is actually good for the environment, that is actually something that need a blockchain. So I don't think that just bringing some environmental friendly thing, like you sold flowers as NFTs, are that environmental friendly? I don't know. So you could buy them as an NFT. NFT is a collectible, digital collectible. So you owned this digitally, but you own a physical plant in a greenhouse, and then you could see that in the webcam and see you could choose to water it or not, and then it died. So is that good or bad? I don't know. But those were buying and selling for a lot of money. So, but I don't think that the environmental part is there yet.
Are there any elements of the real world, because now we see the fusion in the sense, so you have the meta world and then the real world. So do you see any possibilities there in the sense, because now we see companies and startups pitching of, we have this real world product and then we combine it with NFTs and then there's something beautiful happening in between. Let's see what will win. Something's going to happen from it. But is there any, let's say, the sustainable? Should we have seen at COP26? There were no crypto discussion. What I saw so far. No. So it's still purely bad on the sustainable perspective. So it's just a proof of financial model.
Good question. So I would say it's not purely bad, but it's a good question. I think that it's immature rather than bad. So you hear a lot about that blockchains are bad for the environment. There is so many different blockchains. Sure, Bitcoin is probably bad right now, but long term it will go to better energy sources. And of course, Bitcoin might not be the perfect idea of a better world, but it was built so early and didn't know what it's going for. But I think that it's more about finding, right now there's so much money in the crypto world, and I think there's a big opportunity if there are entrepreneurs that can find like bridging the gap. You know that Facebook renamed as Meta, and even though most people might not see that as something related to crypto, but for people in the crypto industry, that was like, okay, now the Web3 is coming for real. Facebook is moving and believing in the metaverse. And metaverse is a term for crypto people that they are believing that cryptocurrencies, crypto artwork, these NFTs, that is as real as anything that is physical. So I believe that, of course, there will be companies that are bridging this and getting this better, and of course, but I haven't seen yet anyone.
Quickly, does anybody of the audience know any crypto combined correlated with green elements? Not yet. So okay, so another topic for a panel in a year's time. So maybe we'll see something new there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a good idea for next year. All right, and looking into red flags, what would you not invest in your fields? Starting with crypto.
Anything.
Scams.
No, I think it's. I do understand many people here thinks it's a bit bogus, but I think long term, most of you guys will get into and understanding part of this. And if you're interested, you should start learning about the technology. So understanding technology, understanding why is this different, because there are a lot of people trying to scam. And for people who are not understanding the technology, it's really hard to understand is this real or not. And just to give an example, we raised money in May. And when we raised money, we raised that on Telegram. I don't know how many people know Telegram, but it's like WhatsApp and these kind of groups. We had a group there, and we had 30,000 people in it. But then there are others creating copy of these groups with a very similar name, or just changing one character, and adding fake people, so it looks like our group, and using the same name as me or others, and saying that you should invest here, so we have a special offer for you. And they're doing this automatically. So there's a lot of things. If you don't know how this works, you do really need to go into the details and looking at, is this web domain? Because you could use characters that look K. You have the big K. It's I guess it's from the Greek alphabet or something. So you can have that in a web address, but it's the big K. So it looks like the same web URL, but it's not. So there is a lot of scams in the industry. So if I was you and I was interested in the field, I would more look into the hybrid companies where you have a real aktiebolag or similar, and investing in those companies, and then start learning based on the people in there. I think that's the easiest way.
Red flags?
No, I just
Crypto.
I got so stuck in crypto. What not just the headline of today's newspaper in Finland was there's so many fraud reports. It exploded in Finland because of crypto. There's been so much because there's so much fraud going on, and unfortunately, I have a close family member who informed that, hey, jag har köpt Bitcoin, which means he was totally screwed by some mystery company. So please check if you have parents or plus 60-year-old, please check that they don't buy Bitcoins from scammers. That could hurt. But so back to our industry. So the red flags. So red flags and one not to invest, that's two different. So the red flags who typically are a downer that affects that we don't continue with the investment discussion. So typically one very important one is the cap table. So please, dear entrepreneurs, make sure that you own and you don't screw yourself with the ownership. It's the classic rule is the 20-20-20. So each round you give maximum 20% away. So if I understood, Sweden doesn't have a really strong template standard what comes to how to do these shareholders agreements and term sheets. So there's startup tools and these kind. In Finland, it's Series Seed.fi, and it's already a standard. So if you use those templates, investors don't even look at the terms. It's already a standard. But unfortunately, we had a few cases where it's quite a spaghetti when it comes to the cap table, who are owners, and it's just you as an early stage, you need to be strong. And as an example, friends, we had Volt, a Finnish company just acquired by DoorDash for 7 billion euros. And these guys, because they've been so strong, they're 27 to 30-year-old and been able to negotiate with the biggest investors in the world, and they still own 10% of the company, and it's 7 billion valued. So it is for your own interest. We as investors, we want to make sure that you own enough so you can go through the whole process. Otherwise, we become the entrepreneurs. So be strong. Understand the standards and please use those standard templates. If not, and please have good advisors to help you out on those. So that's a quite, unfortunately, a really good case where we had to decline because it's so messy. There are a lot of different, but in as baseline for investment, it is about that feeling of trust. Do we feel like this team, this person will take it through the whole process? So many elements, what will correlate with that kind of a feeling that you actually being trusted? And for that, it is more or less what you've done before, who are the references, what is the numbers, in our industry, it's the lifetime value and CAC, the whole package of numbers as well. So there are standards for those as well. But I would say the most common element is the market. Is it big enough? Are you hungry enough? Our latest investment, so Climate View, it is a company that gives cities the total information of the carbon emissions that are collected manually, but they make it digital. But that's not the core. The core in the future is the future potential which we invested in, which is the whole management of financials. Will the cities in the world start using Climate View as a standard for financial management? That's the possibility. That's not there yet, but that's something we invested in, and we feel like there's possibility. So where do you balance the crazy versus the really, really hungry? That is there, but I guess it comes only by talking and being active there around. So it doesn't need that much of sniffing around what's going on, what are the trends. It's a psychological game, and are more or less, hopefully that is, I'm sure Swedes are excellent when it comes to marketing, so we have high hopes that more interesting deals coming up from this way. So Nordic Ninja or hello@nordicninja.vc. We're happy to hear those pitches.
Nordic Ninja.
Yeah.
Send them an invoice.
Simon, do you see when you invest in SaaS companies, do you see any similarities?
No, I have nothing to do with these guys. No, jokes aside, I think we've invested in approximately 45 companies in the past 5-6 years. It's been very tough for lonely founders. Those haven't gotten it. I mean, some of them have succeeded, but I wouldn't go and invest in lonely founders again. It's good to have someone to strategize with, who pushes you and you push each other, etc. That's one element of it. The other would be people who use a lot of entrepreneurs that use a lot of buzzwords, and AI has been on their radar quite a lot recently, and then you say like, okay, so you're talking a lot about artificial intelligence. Can you show me? Can you explain it for me? And when you deep dive, it could be just like some kind of phony algorithm or something, and it's just like, yeah, but we're gonna put machine learning on it and blah 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 blah. So I think just keep it to whatever it is. It's good to be visionary, but just stay realistic. And then when it comes to numbers, I've seen a lot of hockey sticks in my life, and just keep it realistic. And when you talk about the total addressable market, just like don't show me billions and whatnot. Just keep it. We're quite small fund. We're not as rich as Claes, but I'm working on it.
I want to make it. Most of VCs are poor. The funds are rich. So this is a definition, by the way. This is a good. So they're just human as well. VCs are not rich. The funds are.
That's true. That's true.
It's like Norway. The country is rich, but the people are poor. I heard.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I've lost it now. Where are we? Yeah,
more red flags. Yeah.
Exactly, red flags. Norwegians? No. I think these are sort of the things that I have in mind, or someone who comes and wants to do a one-on-one copy of someone else, or believing in just like, I'm the Uber of something, I'm the Volt of whatever. Just like, don't give an F about whoever is doing what. Just like, give me the raw pitch of your company without all this kind of like dressing. That's what I would say are the red flags. I'm considered sometimes as an asshole because I sometimes interrupt meetings and I like to run through the slides myself. So I don't like very lengthy presentations, probably because of my ADHD. So I just like to run through the presentation myself and just like ask the questions that matters to me. Yes.
And as a final question to that, then, what?
I'm not single, no. But thank you for asking.
What do you like that doesn't do those mistakes that you mentioned?
I think I like people who are very confident in what they're doing. Tech companies who actually have tech people. Sometimes you meet someone who has sort of like outsource all the technology outside, and they're just like business developers or marketeers. It's quite tough to run a tech company without having any technology yourself. I like people who are very passionate, who don't see this as a job, but see it sort of like as a passion project. They're very engaged in what they're doing. They have the basic understanding of their field. They have a track record, and they're putting blood, sweat, and tears into their baby, and we're here just to support them.
Moving over to Claes in deep tech, do you look more on the technical people behind, or what advice would you give investors here today if they want to invest in deep tech companies?
Yeah, so from our side, deep tech, so those who are not fully deep tech, so it's of course the traction to some extent, is it financials or some kind of a customer numbers, the promise is there. When then is deep tech, the expectation is for the future to have those. So it's more about, we typically invest when there's a seed stage investors on board. So we love to co-invest, we love to build that team and more or less make a package that is valuable. In the examples that we had so far, it is more or less the reference some kind of a success in the form of producing something that already exists. So we jump on board more or less when, let's say, Sensible 4, it's a company from Finland, university-based, 10 years of research, but now when we invested, we were the first private investors together with Japanese Toshiba. And what the Sensible 4, what triggered, though they didn't have sales or the product didn't work, it's a software for autonomous driving in any weather. If it rains, Tesla will stop, so this will pull you through in any weather, is it sandstorm or anything. So they're more or less, they done a pilot and they had the pipeline of interest. So more or less we could see that interest was there, and the engineer was beautiful, not like Einwide where communication comes first and they just fill in with some amazing skills of delivery. So the typical Finnish engineers are other ways around. They build the product and then comes the communication. So finding that balance there somehow is optimal. But yeah, so in these cases, whatever we might see that takes us to the first €1 million revenue and we can see that path, then definitely we're happy to discuss. But I guess for everybody of us, the most important is to start the discussion early, build the length, because typically when the investment opportunity comes, then you don't have the time to be that kind of a friendship mingle. So you would like to have the relationship existing to some extent. So feel free to reach out early, don't be afraid, and just be the most bold is that you write short. You don't need to write the whole model, you just give a teaser just to bring that linkage up. So that is maybe those kind of what we like.
And in the crypto world?
Yes. So I would say I guess even though I say things are moving really quickly in the crypto world, I think that there are similarities in for those that are more slower growing projects or things like that. They are reaching out to investors early, so they know what's happening, and in that way it's a way for taking the fast decisions. But the decisions are taken more on half-hour meeting rather than doing a long due diligence. But maybe you have had a lot of information beforehand, so that is a big difference. But looking at like what opportunities there are, I think we didn't mention that much NFTs, but NFT stands for digital collectibles. So basically painting or it could be a purse, it could be anything that you have in the physical world that can't be copied. And that is coming a lot. So with Meta, with Facebook renaming to Meta, you have the metaverse. People will have these digital collectibles. So maybe not as funds, but as individuals, it's an interesting field. Is it a hype? Is it a bubble? Most likely, but it's an interesting area of looking and understanding what can I collect and how will this work when Meta launches an even bigger metaverse, or when Apple comes with their metaverse and stuff like that. But purely looking at companies, it's more looking at maybe both a combination of the technical skills, so you need to be technical in crypto most likely, but you also need very good marketing skills. So you can't be just heavy on technology and succeed. Right now it's really hard, very few projects. Those are the infrastructure projects of blockchain, and you have Ethereum is an infrastructure project, for instance. But looking at the combination of technology and marketing that have a good match, but still difference is that they haven't proven anything, most likely. So you can actually see something, and here it's more like, can we see that they have done something good before? Does it look good on paper? Do we believe when they get the money so they can hire the team? Because often it's like that. So you have a small team, but you get then a high number, and then you raise the money to build what you're promising. So it's having belief in others. But I would still start in looking at the hybrid companies for those that are not too open about the big crypto world. But I think that for those that are, there's big opportunities. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs here, it's a crazy market for you to get money, because you can get 10 times more money than you can get in Sweden faster, and you don't even get an investor who decides what to do with them. So I think that's a good option for you guys. So.
Come on, we just got used to SPAC, and now you already take us there. So man, it goes fast. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. We have talked about quite a lot this time. We talked about the differences in investing in different fields, trends, red flags, and some tips and tricks. Do we have any final questions in the audience? One question.
So it depends on the blockchain. So basically the question is, how bad is it using a blockchain technology, kind of. So it depends. And this is an important question to understand. So you hear a lot about Elon Musk first accepting Bitcoin and then not, because you have the coal industry and stuff. And then, but the difference here is that a blockchain could be running on very small amount of energy. It doesn't need to be a lot. So you have good blockchains and you have bad blockchains. So it's definitely possible to do a good thing here.
A last follow-up question, but what if you use a DPKI instead of using a complete blockchain technology? Do you look at hybrids for this solution?
So you could, but I think it's more about the focus of the company, right? Like, what are you after? And you don't need to implement the blockchain in every single case, right? So, but it's a hype thing. Like, yeah, my previous company was machine learning. Then you had AI, and so you're using. I guess soon people would like, we have a blockchain, and it's like, so why are you having a blockchain with its e-commerce? Doesn't add up any value. So I think it needs to add value. You need to add it for the right reasons. But thinking about how you add it, and the companies I'm into, we are using a different blockchain that are better for the environment. But yeah.
Thank you.
And there was the calculation for any tweet, any Instagram post. What is the production of energy consumption for that? I don't recall the exact numbers, but another number was that for more or less, was it mining, over half of that energy use for that is from renewable energy. And so there's many calculation elements. So it's not just purely bad. So of course, the whole system needs to change, and consider that.
We have another question
here. Yeah, just one quick crypto question. One last one. Here I am. You're saying that the ones who started crypto, they don't trust the system and the banks and all this, but there seems to be quite some shit going on in the crypto world as well, and not to be trusted right now. Where do you see this in say 5 to 10 years? How do you see the crypto developing?
That's like a lifetime. Where are we in 1 year? It's super hard.
I understand it's super hard, but you have so much knowledge that we don't have. So it would be really interesting from your perspective.
I'm talking to my bankman and trying to convince them to looking at like crypto, and they are still like, it's banging. It's like, for crypto companies or people who raised money to get money on your Swedish bank account, it's such a hassle right now, because everyone believes that if you get crypto money, it's either fake money or it's bad money or something like that. So where are we in 10 years? I think that Meta have built a big metaverse that tons of people are in, and there are Google and Facebook and Apple and some of the crypto companies are competing about how people are engaging in this. And I don't think that people are living in the VR, but I think my kids, they are playing Roblox and they are using Roblox money. That is as real for them as real money. Real money, you haven't touched them, you are not using them. So kids doesn't use them either. So what is the difference with a Robux compared to Swedish krona? I don't see a difference. I don't think the kids will see a difference. So for them, a cryptocurrency is as real as a Swedish krona. And when enough of those people are grown up, if that's 10 years, then the economy will shift towards these kind of markets. So whether you have real e-commerce just selling digital goods and stuff like that, I don't know. It's really hard to see where it's going, but I think that the metaverse as an economy will be, I don't know if there are any estimations, but it's enormous. And there's already so much money made, and since it's really hard to extract that money, that will be spent within that field of space. And I think that our employees, they are paid in crypto. So, and because they are wanting to spend in crypto, they want the real money is called fiat in the crypto world. You don't want fiat because it's not real money. That is inflationary coins.
Perfect. One comment to that as well. So what Mattias forget to mention, one of his all-time favorite websites, which happens to be our portfolio company, but that's DAppRadar. So there you can see a lot of the future, what's coming on. So the 1-year scale of blockchain and the dApps, the decentralized apps, and that's so you can see the top trending stuff on that side. But then the crypto part, so yeah, you need to find those. But it's like the app store for blockchain. That's what DAppRadar is representing. And then for crypto, there's several different. So we have a few of those centralized sites, which I'm sure Mattias can share later on after the session as well.
Thanks a lot.
And now it's time actually for Mattias to hold a presentation.
It is.
Did you know this, Mattias?
I can talk more. I'm happy with talking more. But
Okay, so let's see. There's been a miscommunication here, I assume. So that means that we have more times for questions, if anyone has any more questions.
Probably not about crypto. No, he just takes down his hand. I'm just kidding.
And while we wait for the microphone to arrive there, I actually have a question. So we've been talking about how, what investors should look for in startups, but what should the startups look for in their investors in your different fields?
Claes?
Thanks a lot. Good. Yes.
You're the humble Norwegian, please.
Yes, so absolutely. Do your DD. I used to work for the angel community, and the first rule 10 years ago when we started the Finnish Angel Network, which is one of the largest group of startup investors in the world. So all the post-Nokia guys were looking for what to do next. And you really, the first guidance for the angels were to never co-invest with VCs because they will dilute you and they will screw you. Well, the time has changed, so wonderful VCs are not as bad, and though we represent the dark side, it is more or less very humble and co-investing and looks for a space for the angels. So that is the structure there. For the startups, more or less, it is a marriage. It is longer than an average marriage, right? It is a 10-year plus period most often. So who do you want to work with for the next 10 years, almost every day, partly more or less, and have a community? So it comes down to the likability. So do you get along? And in the end, it's the dynamics. Most of our deal cases, unfortunately, it's trust on the person. So that's what we look at, but you should do the same. So do you like those individuals? Do they offer service? And you get that quite easily with all the information available. But then I guess at least all the deal room, all the crunch bases, so filtering, they're using those. So use those existing platforms to just check out what are the industries and expertise, because it is a game of trust. Like probably one of the best funds we have in Europe is Lifeline Ventures, and they're beautiful individuals. They're just like laid back individuals. You just want to work with them, and they give you the right answers and no bullshit. So that kind of I'm not sure why I'm selling Lifeline, but it's just an example of what you really want to do. And we want to be part of that. So less, sorry my language, assholes. There's, in my naive bubble, there's less and less of those assholes. I haven't met any, but maybe there are. So please make sure that you do a proper DD.
Simon, you're...
No, I think Claes broke the bro code earlier today by revealing that most VCs are pretending to be or having the slogan of, you know, we're investing in the future of tomorrow and being very sustainable. So exactly. It's all rainbows. No, I'm going to reveal something else, and that is all investors claim that they come with smart money and that they're going to help these startups. I think the startups have a responsibility of actually, you know, checking references and making sure that those people. I mean, I wouldn't have an investor if I don't want to have a coffee or a beer with that person. And I mean, if you don't have a match or if you don't have the chemistry, you know, person to person, you should probably not accept that money, because I've seen a lot of horrible examples in a mismatch between investors and founders. So that is, I would say, essential. Check all the references and check whether you feel comfortable with those people. And then there is, I would split between VCs and business angels. In my own businesses, a long time ago, I've dealt with both, raising money to my own companies. And if you're going to go for business angels, ensure that they can be with you for the long term, at least like for the seed rounds or up to a Series A maybe, and ensure that they are not putting their livelihood and all their savings into your company, and they're not going to be one of those who call you all the time. Because back to Claes's point, which he mentioned before, if you have a very diversified cap table with a bunch of people, well, make sure that those people will call you and ask you how it's going. So have as few investors as possible on your cap table in the early days. These are the mistakes that I've done myself.
Or then you have a syndicate, so you have just one investor voice. So use those templates. So make those bunch of 10, 20, whatever amount of good angels you have, because they are free staff. They get to work for you for free after they invest as well. So it's an expensive hobby, as many say. So more or less so, syndicate.
And within NFTs.
So I would say also like more into the non-crypto world, but looking at what have they done before and who have they co-invested or introduced to later on? Because looking at each stage, you need to get to the next stage. And if you are investing in a local network of people who have never co-invested with any of the funds in Stockholm or in Copenhagen or anywhere else, it's really hard to get into the next stage. And then you might get the cap table because you get the next round from the same people or a smaller audience above. So it's kind of like trying to have these good links towards what kind of next funds can get into the round. Related to blockchain, I think it's totally different. So it's not really about these kind of things at all. But so I think we can leave it there for now.
And we had the audience question over there.
Yes, hello. Sebastian from Cater King. We're actually raising around, just to let you know. You can get me outside. I like the crypto talk. I've been into crypto a lot. And deep tech, I don't know so much. SaaS, yes, I know. But I was wondering around sustainability. We talk about sustainability a lot in the Nordic countries. We're so small. Thank you, Miljöpartiet, for the crazy electricity prices here. But when it comes to the other parts of the world, like India, the larger ones, and China and so on, how much are they talking about sustainability when it comes to companies and so on, startups, scale-ups, and so on?
So who is the Chinese in the panel?
We have Japan here.
I get exactly, but Japan is a good, yes. So what happened, so we have our image of Japan and more or less, but what happened, because Japan, poof, they also decided to become net carbon neutral, so more or less, so aiming for 2050, they're going to be neutral on that side. So that was decided last spring, and poof, that exploded afterwards. So Nordics have a huge positive image globally. The Nordic brand is massive. So more or less, you will be heard wherever you go. The market is tremendous, like the third largest market, which Japan represents. They're really hungry to understand what is going on, and they trust that the material and stuff produced here will deliver. But the focus is we need to sell. So it is, they have the interest, they have the more or less, they will listen, but more or less they will, there's so much noise going on, so we need to be active and sell. So maybe that is my most important. So demand is there, especially Japan, Asia, the brand is, the image is there. So, but just what are the channels to communicate? So I know Business Sweden, they're partly consultation service, but they do relatively good work for relatively fair price to open up those doors. So use those public services as well. If those, for example, Japan Spice Venture Fund hasn't invested in you yet. But we're happy to introduce as well. And as a bonus, it's not, we do highlight what's going on in the Nordics. That's one of the mandates that we have. So our channels go up to the minister level of Japan, because the issue with Japan is that they understand the innovation doesn't happen in the corporates. They don't have the startup activity themselves. That's the reason why Nordic Ninja exists. So they looked around the world, looked at, wow, Nordics, they have the same demographics, still they produce a lot of amazing technology, let's put a fund there. So it's a huge amount of trust from Japan, giving 100 million for local investment. But in addition to those investments, they want to learn, understand, so we ship a lot of interesting companies we highlight. So just give us a ping and we're happy to be a local reference. That's a typical Asian question, who else is using this? So if you have a good, strong reference for that, then there shouldn't be a problem.
We have one last question.
Can I just comment on this just quickly? So going back to your reference, I don't think it's very high on the agenda of India, as an example. If you look in the Middle East, it's not very high on the agenda. It's more of an initiative that is strong in Europe and in Northern Europe, I would say. Having said that, if you look at, there is a lot of different countries that are seeing AI, automation, and also sustainability as like core elements to attract investments. And I think that the money will dry from those investors who are not having green investments in the next 3 to 5 years. Saudi Arabia is now knowing that they cannot depend on oil. They are doing Vision 2030, in which they are building a complete city that is modern, that is built on sustainability and recycling and automation and et cetera, et cetera. So we are heading towards this from everywhere, but in your reference, you can see in the COP26 example and what India did there in the last minute. So not very high on the agenda. Yes?
Yes. Hello. I just came, I'm Bo, I just came with the ferry here from Helsingborg. I work a lot with sustainable startups in Denmark and Greater Copenhagen. And also, I know Claes Mikko, he's been working with Nordic Ban. And reason why I'm here, I'm trying to figure out how do we get more like this Nordic Edge collaboration, and also collaboration in between the investors and also for the sake of the startups. Seeing, you can say, this Nordic region as one, like home base to take on bigger countries or new markets. So what's your advice to, or what should we as ecosystems do to facilitate more cross investing from early stage until late? But yeah, what can we do to facilitate that? And also back to the Nordic Edge, like collaborate more across the storage Claes tells back in Japan. Like how do we get that more going in between so that we get more across the bridge connectivity and collaboration?
Well, first of all, just coming to this event and organizing this event is the purpose to actually have collaborations, crossover. What do you guys think?
Why is everyone looking at me? Go ahead, Claes. You're the superstar here.
Maybe I could just comment. So just a quick and spot on, more or less. So my job is to sell the Nordics. The issue with the Nordics is that we're very patriotic country-wise. So it's Sweden and Finland, and they're all nationalistic. All the governmental services are nationalistic. So they have an issue they would like to, but they don't have the mandate to do cross. Nordic innovation, at least, they don't have the resources. So it's up to you, more or less, to package the location to that attractive as possible. One element which if I Google Denmark, if I Google Sweden, what do I get? So typically what we use as data points are PitchBook, Crunchbase, these kind of a deal room. And what happened in Finland, for example, Helsinki as a city, they match with deal room. Now we have all the deals listed there as one package. It does make life a lot easier for us. I just Googled Helsingborg and startups, the correlation there. I didn't get not a single startup or a list of startups. So I have an issue knowing what are the startups from Helsingborg. I did the same for Skåne Startups, and through a bunch of clicking, then I found something. So I would, if it's okay as a wish, make it more. This list, it sounds boring, but the spreadsheet, it does help a lot just to do a quick evaluation. So just like make sure that those whose job is to sell your region, then think a bit larger, do English, do lists. Sorry, that was super simplified.
Perfect. We need to wrap this up, so a short answer.
Yeah, we need to elaborate on that. In Sweden, we've actually done the same thing now. Tillväxtverket and Business Sweden did this a couple of weeks ago. So we have the same deal.
Exactly.
Deal rules. So, yes.
Well, thank you so much. Give a huge round of applause for our amazing panel.